Okay, got us a 6090 that we're going to be doing. We're going to have to go really fast, so hopefully you can keep up. I got a lot to do today, so I'm going to be going quick. The bearing here, the way I do the bearing is I get me a bushing driver that fits down inside of here. I get my pry bar, I pry the bearing out. Green lip faces up. Do not have the bushing driver to press this in, so I use my arbor press plate, put it over the top, it presses it in, and I just finish driving it down just a little bit with the hammer. As long as you tap it lightly, you're going to be okay. Replace all your bushings in the entire unit. Down in the bottom, right down in here, we got this O-ring. Right down in here is two grooves. The bottom groove is for this O-ring. The top groove is for the snap ring. And then on this lip right here, we have a D-shaped ring. Make sure you don't roll it. Lube this up nice and well. On the back side here, this piston, we have a D-shaped one. There's two of them that are the same. Depending on what kit is how it will come. If you're getting a Trans-Tech kit, which I recommend, they're going to come all together, so they're both the same size. You don't have to worry about that. If you are doing a WIT kit or a Toledo kit, they're going to come separate. This one's going to come separate. Just don't worry about it too much. Bevel plate with the fingers up. Make sure we're lubed up nice and well down in there. All these surfaces. In your kit, you're going to get several different O-rings or D-rings here. The big one goes on the outside. Depending on which piston you have is what size this one here is going to be, or I mean this one here is going to be. So you're going to end up with one extra in the kit. Don't fret that too much, just pick the right one that fits. Be sure and lube every surface that you can find that might take something rubber. Now this snap ring that's coming up is super critical that you do it properly and that you do the right one. Now if you order a Trans-Tech kit, you're going to get new snap rings, and it comes in this kit. This is the kit that you want right here. The reason being, this snap ring right here on the early ones was a different thickness. If you use the wrong thickness in the wrong drum, it's going to pop out. Now this is the late one, it'll fit anything. The early snap ring would only fit the early drum, so do not put the early one in the late drum. Put the short end of the taper of our snap ring, tape short end up towards you, and go press this in. Okay, this piston is really bad, especially on the early ones, about cracking. And it'll crack right down in here, and it's really hard to see. So anytime that the 1, 2, 3, 4 clutches are burned, I just replace this piston. I don't care if it's the late one or not. Even the late ones I have seen crack. These 22, 20, 24, 26, 63, 64s, I have not seen crack. But here again, if these clutches are burned, I'm not taking a chance. I have seen the 2423 8700s crack, even though that was supposed to be the update. I can't remember the other number off the top of my head, but anytime you see those burn, just plan on replacing that piston there. On these molded pistons, even if they look good and they feel good, if you see stringy stuff coming out, especially from the center, these pistons need to be replaced. You're going to put the lip facing down, bevel plate dish up, snap ring short end of the taper up. Okay, in the kit, on a 6L90, you're going to have one extra clutch on every set of clutches. We keep our cutouts together, our fingers together, so that the fluid has a way to flow out. And with this set of clutches here, it'll have more clutches in the other set that sits on top. Just match them up to the ones that came out of there. You'll be okay. I do not soak my clutches. If you want to soak your clutches, more power to you. I've never seen a difference doing it and not doing it, so don't get your panties in a bunch about it. On this pressure plate right here, if it has any kind of markings on it, that faces up. If you come across one that has no markings, there will be a rounded edge on the teeth that faces down. On your drum, one lug in here, if you look, these little cutouts, you can look on the inside, but you can see it on the outside. Alright, where are you at? Should have already come across it. Where the heck are you? Yeah, look at it from the inside. I'm just overlooking it right here. Right there. See how it's not got the notch? That's where your snap ring goes, the opening of it. Make sure that it's between that lug right there. Got our ply plate. Make sure that it's sitting all the way down. Cushion plate. This one here does not have any cutouts, so it doesn't matter how the steels go in. Pressure plate goes with step up. Here again, we're going to have a blind spline. Our opening of our snap ring goes there. Okay. Okay, on your drum here, you notice how this one's a little bit dark, where the clutches got really burned. As long as the drum's not leaking, usually where it cracks is right down inside of here. So just air check it, and as long as it's not leaking, you can reuse this drum. It's not going to hurt anything at all. Bevel plate, fingers in it. On this piston here, when you push this down, don't go so far that you screw up the inside of that. Just go far enough to get the snap ring in. Alright, short end of the taper of our snap ring up. Our snap ring pliers. Now these are usually pretty burned. Cushion plate. Here again, you're going to have an extra clutch. Why they got less clutches in a 6L90, I don't know. But that's the way it is. Step of the pressure plate goes up. Snap ring. On these here, as long as your stator fits nice and snug, this one's nice and snug, you don't have to replace those. But if you do need to replace these, you just cut them, and then if you don't have the tools, you can just stretch them out by hand, get them down on there, use a hose clamp or a bushing, and come around here and just clamp that down and let it resize. Now you talk about how this bearing is bad about blowing up on the early ones especially, and it goes this way, the little feet facing up. I have never had one of these Planetaries bad. Now I have had the one in the back bad. You got the washer with these tabs. Goes down in there. Planet sits in here. And our sun gear. It does not matter which way the sun gear goes. Okay, on this bushing here, this one likes to walk out. There is a feed port right here. You want to make sure that you don't go down so far that you block that port off. And this one here, you just want to go a little bit past flush. On the back side here, we have a great big fat O-ring. Goes all the way down right there. Okay, bevel plate, you got to make sure that you get the one that goes around this area right here. It's the only one that'll fit. And you have a blind spline on your sprag right here, and it goes right here on this opening. Alright, your sprag's turning counterclockwise, locking clockwise. You need to make sure that is working the way it's supposed to. Short end of the taper of the snap ring up. Do not press on the area it says do not press. Okay, cushion plate. Snap ring. The center supports are different between the 6L80 and the 6L90. bevel plate, dish down. And if you look on your snap rings, you've got two snap rings that go in here. One has a taper on both sides. This one goes down here. If you swap this around, the snap ring will pop out. And I just pop it into place. Just make sure that it is all the way in there. Cushion plate. This one here is more prone to cracking than the others. And it don't say anything about this, but on this pressure plate, this little notch right here, I go ahead and put the opening of the steel, or the pressure plate right there. Step goes up. I also put the opening of the snap ring away from there. So, and it, like I said, it don't say anything about it, but it's what I do. Okay. Alrighty, this is the Unigear output shaft. It's made all together. You can slide the Planetary in. After you put the output shaft in, this bearing, bushing needs to be recessed so that the tip of the bearing can fit down in there. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the bearings, I guess. This one here looks real similar to this one, but it's fatter. It goes down in the bottom, and its tip, you need to make sure that bushing's far enough down. On the Unigears, like I said, you can put the Planet in after. On the non-Unigears, this ring gear right here has a snap ring that's here, a spacer, and another snap ring, the ring gear, and another snap ring. If I remember, that's, no, sorry, incorrect. It's got snap, well, no, I think I am correct. Anyhow, I'm trying to think off the fly here, and I'm getting myself all mixed up. Anyhow, this is removable. You need to take the ring gear off. The ring gear and the snap ring, put the ring gear the way it's supposed to go. It does have a right way and a wrong way. Slide the ring gear onto here, then put the Planet inside, then put your snap ring in, and I would put the Planetary in sideways with the case sideways. It's easier that way. With the Unigear, it's easy to assemble straight up. Once we get that Planetary in there, this bearing goes with the lip down, and our support sits on top of that. This bearing goes into the case on the back of the Planet, facing this way, the flat side facing the Planet. And let's see, we got that in there. Once our support goes in, we have this bearing, the lip, it's going to sit right there. We've got a great big snap ring with the bevel facing up, and the opening is going to face at 9 o'clock position. Once once we get that in there, we have, this one's recessed just a little bit, so is this one. Then we have this bearing, sits on top. Our hub sits in there, has no bushings in it. I got this bearing. They talk about these being bad about breaking. I've never had one of these broken either. There's a race on the back here, make sure it's okay. That's going to go in. This bearing is going to sit on top. Then our 4, 5, 6 drum goes in, and our 1, 2, 3, 4 reverse drum goes in. I guess the next thing to do is get my pump in here. We'll get the pump assembled, then we'll be going into the case. Alright, let's talk about our pump for a minute. This is new bell housing. There's a new seal. It's going to just press into there. If you greased it up, it would definitely just push in by hand. I put them in a little bit dry. Give them more purchase as far as I'm concerned. Make sure it's all the way down. Have a snap ring that holds that in. If you're buying a new one, go ahead and make sure that you pulled everything off of the old one. All your dowel pins that tend to get stuck in here. The vent, which goes up here, go ahead and leave it out for right now. It makes it easier. If you're not replacing the bell housing, just turn this up like this. It makes it easier to get the bell housing in. Our line pressure port. .7/16 on that. Don't get super radical on it, just tighten it down to where it's tight. You don't want to crack anything. New stuff, go ahead and clean up and get all the rust inhibitors off of it. If you're doing wit, you're going to want to put a bevel on your slide. Go ahead and put our cooler line seals in. Just knock them in flush. Go in there, and there is a seal that goes on the cooler line side of it. It's going to seal up right there. Now, when they machine these, from the factory, it's not a problem, but when they go in here and they remachine these to resurface this, they leave a little ridge in here, especially on a wit ones. It seems to be worse. So on the O-ring side of this, you're going to want to get you a die grinder with a Scotch-Brite pad on it, and just go on here and just take the edge, just barely chamfer the edge right there and right there. And that's going to help keep it from getting stuck on that little ridge that they're going to leave in there. I guess let's go ahead on the bushings here. Need to be replaced. These are critical ones. On this part of it here, we can come back and talk about some of this when we start assembling it. This I want to talk about. When WIT goes in and resurfaces this, they don't take none of these valves out, and they do not take this stator out. It's going to be packed full of metal. You're going to want to go and take every single valve out of this thing and blow all this out really good. Take your stator off, change that gasket that they used to tell you not to change. Once you get all that done, the WIT pumps are going to come with the transgo valve. That's fine, and you can use either one you want. If you use the Sonax one, you're going to drill it out with the small drill bit that they give you. You're going to drill a hole from the top right here into this passage over here. Then they give you the check ball. You're only going to use one. They give you one in case you lose it. Put it down inside the hole here. Use a punch it past the surface, and then I take a center punch and I just give a couple nicks to keep it from coming out. I use the Sonax valves unless I buy a reman from WIT, so they're a little bit different in that respect, that you plug that off. Do not do that on a transgo valve. You see how we get wear on the valve here. Now even once you put the valve in here, you're probably going to want to check it with the vacuum gauge and make sure that it's sealing off properly. This is the new Sonax valve. Put both springs back in it, and then the boost valve. You're going to want to make sure that that inner spring gets popped up inside that. You'll feel it when you're going to try to put it in. It'll be really stiff. You get it popped up in there and it'll get a little bit looser. So you're going to want to check and make sure that that circuit's not leaking. You want a flat stone. I got the bench builder stone from Transtar. You can see that I still got a little ways to go. So I'm going to finish up on that. We got our filter seal that goes in here. And our pump here. As far as our slide goes, you're going to want to, they make 3 different slides. Make sure that your slide and your vanes are in good shape. But you're going to want to put plastic gauge on top of this, bolt this down, and make sure that your clearance comes out right. I believe it's supposed to be 0.0002 to 0.0008 to 0.0025, if I remember correctly. So you got 3 different slides that they have. Make sure that's right. And once I get to putting this in, we will come back and talk. I gotta keep flat stone in this pump cover. I'll be back when I get that. So should have shown the little ball, putting the little ball in there. Sometimes they fit really tight. This one just pretty much just fell into there. On those especially, you're going to want to stake that in there some kind of way. Make sure that that doesn't move. And then, like I said, the hole is drilled. You see that right there? That's where it's drilled. Okay, let me go finish flat doing this. we'll be back and we'll talk about the rest of this. Okay. On this right here, on this slide, got an O-ring that goes on the back. We have a sealing ring that goes on the back here. Sometimes it's easier to put a little bit of grease on it and get it held up into place so it doesn't fall out on you. And it goes over here just like that. Now on this seal, the rubber seal, and the plastic piece that goes here, I keep the old one that comes out. I have found that a lot of these in the kit, even though it's a good kit, are too tall and it makes it bind. So I just use the old one. There's still plenty of tension there. Put your spring in down on your pivot pin, and then put your spring in. I put the end down and get a screwdriver in here. They make a tool if you want to buy the tool. Screwdriver works just fine for me. Okay, we have ring guide. Well, actually, this is the guide. This is, I forget what they call that thing. Right off the top of my head. Put your guide inside. It only fits one way. If you're reusing, there's marks on the back side of your vanes. Put those back where they were sitting on those rings. If there's notches worn into it, you're going to want to replace it. Once you get all those in, there's another one that goes on top. Right here is a guide pin, or line-up pin. Line that up. You've got 8mm bolts that go in here. These two right here are kind of guide, or almost line up, but it's not quite right, so you can't use that as a line up. But if those two are started, the rest of these will start. Just use my 4L60 line-up band. It's not, you know, made for this exactly. It fits a little weird, but it does work. I wasn't going to buy another line-up band just to do this, so I just stick it on there, get it down on the groove. It kind of hits a little bit, but all you're doing is lining up this part of it anyway, so it does that. Get that in there, get these tightened down. There's a bolt tightening sequence. Basically, you're going to start here, 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 here. You're just going to work your way around, kind of go in a star pattern. 97 inch-pounds on the bolts. make sure. I know I missed some. I'm just going to go around and make sure we got them all. Here's one I missed. Okay. Now, if you're lucky, you get the metal one. It's becoming hard to get these right now. They are working on a third design of this gasket. It's going to be even a different material. There's an O-ring on here. You want to make sure and replace this. Lube that up. Put your gasket on here. Alright, I'm going to have to press that down in there. 97 inch-pounds again, I believe. I believe that's right. I don't think they give you specs on it because they tell you, GM tells you not to take this off. Anyhow, when you get this pressed down, before you tighten the bolts, and there's a couple ways to do it. You take this sun gear and get you an extra one, weld you a handle on here. That makes a really good tool. I don't have that right at the moment, so the way I do it, if I ever get one that's blown up, I'm going to take one and do it. I guess I could buy one just to make one out of, but you know, they don't like buying parts when they don't have to buy parts. So the way I do is I get my big channel locks and I get on here and I get somebody to hold the bell housing down, that or you can bolt it down. And you're going to want to turn this in a clockwise, not counterclockwise. I had somebody argue with me about it. You are supposed to turn it in a clockwise motion and bolt this down. So once I get this pressed in, torqued, and these torqued down, I can go ahead and take my lineup band off. Don't need that anymore. Make sure your washer is on there. We're going to put an O-ring down around here, and then we have rubber expanders going here. If you have a stator that does not have these notches cut in it for these sealing rings, you want to get rid of that stator. It will give you problems. Not if, it will. Especially after you rebuild it. The first design non-rotational rings are these. They still give them to you in the kit. Do not use them. The late style have these notches in it. Make sure, and the sealing ring goes together like so. Make sure that it's in the notches. Don't open it up so far that you break the back of this sealing ring. Just open it up just enough to get it into the groove. If you break the back of it, it's not going to seal properly and it will not work properly. So make sure that's in there. When we come back, I believe we shall be putting everything in the case, and this is going to go pretty quick after that. we'll be back at a different camera angle. Okay, something we needed to do for change camera angles. I suggest that you do this on your Techems. Hardly ever have to replace a Techem anymore. It's not a matter of if these are going to blow out, but a matter of when. And if you don't do this, I guarantee it's going to blow out in your warranty period. So go ahead and dig your rubber out. And get up underneath there. There's a film that's underneath there, and they start cutting a circle in them, and then they'll blow out. And if you're not real careful, this little plastic piece is down in here, and it does have a certain way to go. So if it does blow out, you can buy those pieces if you can't find it. See, this one's ripping right there. That's what they do. Anyway, you can buy those plastic pieces. The little feet sit down. You'll see there's brass contacts down inside there. Those little feet have to sit around that. You'll understand exactly what I'm talking about when you see it. I'm not going to dig one out to show it. I have another video where I do show it. There's different kits that you can buy. I get mine from Sonax, and they have one that comes with the tools. And once you have the tool, you just buy the refill kit, and the refill kit does 10 transmissions. So that's how I buy them now. You get the little film and make sure you only got one. Just kind of make a cup like that and push it back down into that groove that it was sitting in before. And you're going to get this tool, and you hook this little leg up underneath there on the end that's already inside, and then just push it down and give it some twists. You're going to want to go around and make sure that it gets all of that pushed up in there. Alright, and then just do that for each one. Some go in easier than others. Once it's in, make sure it's in the center, it's not off to the side. If it's not down all the way in there, your rubber won't sit in there properly. One's wanting to be a snot. And in the single kit, they'll give you an extra film and an extra rubber in case you screw one up. Okay, once those are up in there, you got this tool and you got this tool. Get you some grease, lube that rubber up really good. And take this side, stick it inside the tool like so, and take this tool and push it down inside there like so. Then take it, set it in flat, and then push your piston down, and it'll install it for you. Make sure I wasn't grabbing an old one. Now they give you the rubber in the kit. They don't give you the film, which I don't understand. That's the critical part of it. That one didn't go. And make sure that rubber is sitting in there properly. You don't want it not sealing properly and then throwing a code. Oh, come on now. Being that way. Alright. Okay, on the 6L90 valve body, these ports, this is your center line right here. 6L40 and 50 is, these ports are on that center line. 6L80, their ports are up here. 6L90, the ports are down here. Another way you can tell 6L40 and 50 is these are ground down. 6L80, the C is ground down. 6L90, the D is ground down. Depending on what year you have is what casting numbers you have and whether these ports have little vents in them, like you see up here would be down here. Also, this is in a different position. These little ports right here will be at an angle instead of kind of at an angle like that, except for over here. So don't go mixing all that up, or you know, it ain't gonna work right. Alright, our solenoid gasket. There's little pins that line up in here, and then the metal pins go on there. Just make sure you push that all the way down. Then we have our lineup pin here. Goes in right there. I hang this off the side of the bench, it's easier. You have 10 millimeters, 7 millimeter, and 8 millimeters. 10 millimeters go here. 7 millimeters go here and here. Now Sonex right now is selling the valve bodies for what you can buy a zip kit for. So I'm just buying the valve bodies and not having to use the time to put a zip kit in. So we're not putting a zip kit in this one, it's already in there. Uh, 10 millimeter here and there, it's already got it. 8 millimeters go on the end. You want to tighten your 8 millimeters up first. Well, I lost my other 8 millimeter. I don't know what I did with it. Alright, so tighten your 8s down first. It says hand tighten only. I've gotten to where I can do it with an impact. You just got to know how to control them. Then tighten your 10s down. Now on this part, especially right here, you want to do this several times because that gasket's going to compress and these are going to loosen up a little bit. So tighten this down, walk off for a little bit, come back, retighten it, and then you might want to do that 2 or 3 times. You might want to double check, especially if you get anything from WIT, that everything is tight. Anything you buy from WIT, you also want to take it apart and make sure everything is in there. Alright, there's a little clip right here that holds this harness down. Put that in there, put that down, push your lock tab over it. Alright, 8 millimeter on our detent. You're going to want to make sure that this is sitting in the center of the rooster comb once you get it on there. Alright, speed sensors depend on which style output shaft you have. Make sure that you have the right ones. Little locating tabs go in those holes right there. 8 millimeters hold it down. locating tab. Spring lock on the harness here goes on these tabs here. And here. Seals go on the valve body. Okay, now we can change camera angles and stuff this in a case after recheck those a couple of times. Alright, we'll be back. Okay, on this bushing back here, it has a hole in it, and you'll find this hole all over the place. When I go back in, I put it right here in the line with this hole right here. That way it's maybe got a chance to get some fluid up into that hole and work it around. And drive it in so that on this side you're a little bit below flush. We got our bearing. It's going to go in this way. If you're going to be doing the non-uni gear, you're going to want to put some grease on this to hold it in place and then turn the tranny on its side. Since we don't have the we do have the uni gear, we can go ahead and put our outlet shaft in. Our bearing with the lip down. Our planet. There's no need to take this planet apart. Just kind of, you can push down on these bearings and feel them. If they feel okay, then there's no need to take this apart. If any of this is bad, you're replacing the whole thing anyway. Now, normally I'm standing over here to put this planet in, so we'll see how this goes. This camera's kind of right in the way. It'd be nice to have a camera person, but I don't have one. I'm gonna have to move this camera. Alright, bearing with the tip down. I may have to move the camera again, I don't know. When our feed port's pointing at the 6 o'clock, we got to line our lugs up with the notches in the case. Try to go as straight as possible. Kind of hard to see without being over this. Alright, I am off. Hopefully I don't get stuck. God dang it. Okay, very easy to get this thing stuck. Dang camera is right in the way. Our snap ring, bevel up, opening at the 9 o'clock. Bearing with the lip down. Hub. Bearing with the lip down. Hub. Bearing, hub, little feet up, 4, 5, 6 drum, 3, 5 reverse drum. And when you're putting this drum in, it may feel like it's all the way down, like right there. You do that and it sounds like it's down. It's not down. Okay, I believe we're down now. You want that drum down past that surface right there. Pump. Our dowel pin is over here. We're going to want to make sure that we are lined up with that. And we are all the way down. The bell housing should be almost totally flush. All it's holding you up is just a little bit of the O-ring. That's going to get compressed. "15mm bolts, the long ones. The shorter ones go in the tail housing. All right, 53 foot-pounds. I'm going to have to send my torque wrench off. I think I am having troubles with this thing because it should be clicking and we're not. Alright, I'm going to have to go get batteries for my other one. Lock up O-ring. Lube that up. And then we'll be back. Alright, filler tube boot. Seals for our center support. Sonax makes a deal that you can put in this center support and in the valve body. I don't put that in. You can put that in if you want to. Line your manual valve up with that. We have guide lineups on the back of our valve body here. I got to go on those. Be careful with your manual valve that you don't break it. Alright, E12 bolts. Alright, here again, hand tighten only. On our pass-through connector, we have a flat seal and 2 O-rings. Okay, see if we can get this to come out on camera. There's a notch right there. There's a notch right there. I'm gonna line that up. Make sure your tab's all the way up. Once that's pushed all the way in, then that'll push down and lock. Lube up your filter. Okay, the pan is different on a 6L90. It's got this angle here. 6L80 is a little rounded. I got both pans here. I will show you. That's 6L80 right here. 6L90 there. Alright, 80 inch-pounds on the... Alright, get this tool off the tool trucks. I think you can even get it at O'Reilly's now. Just back this off, stick it over your linkage, and then Screw it in till it stops. Tighten down this part of it. And then pull your seal out. Get your linkage seal. It goes in this way. You're going to have to, there's a couple slots on your linkage. You have to get a pocket screwdriver and kind of work that up around it. Once you get it up around it, here's your installer. Drive it in until it stops. Our linkage, 15mm nut. Alright, last thing to talk about, we got to put our vent and our pump. And on the tail here, if this was a four-wheel drive, this seal would be in the back of the case right here. And our tail housing is going to bolt not only here but out here also. There would be no gasket in between it, no O-ring here. Since we have a two-wheel drive, some of these two-wheel drives have a collar that goes on here and has an O-ring in it. That is, well, I don't see it right now. There's an O-ring inside there. It seals the yoke. We got this O-ring that goes here. I got to put me a new bushing in, press my seal in. This would go on here. And our 15mm bolts, 41 foot-pounds. And then we're done with this unit. See you on the next one.